All right, we're here for the finale of Dragon Prince Season 5, and I will say I hate it, but it was well done. And I'm here with Spear, the magic helmet, who really enjoyed it. Um, and by
Here's
hate,
Magic Helmet.
and by hate, I mean it was good. Again, cliffhangers. I hate when I was so invested and so enthralled in the episode. When it ended, I didn't even realize that we were close to the ending of the season. I hate when they do that. They introduced like a new character, mushroom sage.
Do you
Um,
know the Mushroom Mage? The Mushroom Mage.
Darren had a turning point. Pretty much,
No, the Mushroom Mage who lives in convenient parts of the forest where dragons like to crash.
yeah. I will say that was kind of convenient that the Dragon Queen fell directly in the exact spot the mushroom sage would find her. I know it's coincidence, but kind of takes you out of the moment when he just suddenly shows up and apparently can cure corruption as well. That's what it made it seem like.
And it seems relatively easy.
Well, I mean, I guess corruption isn't unheard of, or it isn't a new concept. I'm
Yeah, but
guessing.
he doesn't seem like it's very inconvenient for him to cure the corruption. Just like la 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 la
Yeah, and
la
also
la
he
la.
was just
He
singing,
sprinkles something
and
on him, and the dragon, like with this epic, like destructive, like curse, seems to be like healing almost immediately and like almost instantaneous like relief from it. He's like, "Who lives on Drury Lane?" I'm sorry, did I say that?
yes, you did. Um, I'm also wondering again. I brought this up before about like maybe there are offshoots of certain elves. He looks like he could be an Earth blood elf, but he's obviously not. So I don't know, like, what in the world. I even looked at his hands to see if he had 4 fingers or 3, and he had 3, so he's definitely an elf. I don't know what type of elf he is. He could just be an Earthblood elf that just seems to be on his own for some strange reason. Um,
Yeah.
Based on the other Earthblood elves too, like he's probably the nicest one besides the one that Claudia is with. Uh, Most Earthblood elves seem to be warriors of a certain type. Though there's only 2 that don't seem to be that way, or at
Are
least
we
like
doing are we in the podcast right now?
yes,
Okay, just making sure. Did you introduce me?
yes.
Wait, you did?
I literally said in Spirit Magic Helmet, and you started talking and singing about mushrooms.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
I was on mushrooms and then I don't remember anything.
You were. Listen, man, do that in your own time. Not now. Jeez.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you ruined concentration. Uh, um, I actually really did lose my train of thought. But okay, I guess we
That's
can
almost
start from the very beginning.
impossible.
Actually, while this is all happening, I completely forgot to pull up a certain person's notes that he worked really hard on, and I'm really a bad person. I am so sorry. Let me fix
You're
that.
terrible. I can't wait to see what anonymous animal you are when you join in.
Okay, I guess we can talk about that. Avazandum, um, in Zubea's. I'm guessing that was an hallucination? Which then again, I didn't know corruption could cause hallucinations.
She doesn't
And
seem.
also, I want to bring up, before I guess let you continue, I want to bring up that, like, Zubea is fighting that corruption. I suspect that she had been turned over by the time we saw her again. No, but she's been fighting it. It's crazy,
Sense
actually.
that it makes sense that a legendary archdragon would like take a little while to completely like shake off a scratch. I mean, it's been like what, 2 days, a day.
I guess, but I don't think, like, corrupting. I get why it would take longer, but at the same time, like, I mean, if they didn't do that, I wouldn't be confused as why why it didn't take long for her to get corrupted. But
You were told that the rule was by the next night. By the way, you're an anonymous tiger. You were convinced that the rule was the next night, and that's why you feel cheated by the fact that they didn't keep their word and it wasn't just the next night. but we're talking about like a legendary tier, like Archdragon, and it might just have, and it's huge, physically large, and the wound is spreading like enormously, and we've never seen this hit anything larger than like, I don't know, a really big wolf. So it stands to reason that a legendary Archdragon might take, oh, I don't know, 3 days to completely transform instead of just one, you know? Like it might have a little bit more like control over itself. So I don't think it's a big cheat or a big deal or
I mean,
anything.
I wasn't saying it was a cheat. I'm all I'm really saying is that I can understand it, but at the same time, I really I halfly wanted to see her get corrupted just to see what she was gonna do. But I guess at
We see
this,
it, like we see her eyes like moving around like against her
no, what I
controller.
mean, like, could actually destroy something, like her destroy an entire, because like based on her power, she can destroy a continent. But I guess we won't see that because she's being healed. So, um, yeah, I'm disappointed. But it's probably for the best that she didn't, because humans and magical creatures don't exactly have the best
Rapport.
history. So maybe it's for the best that they didn't go that route. Uh, but you were to say something before I interrupt you rudely. Sorry, what were you about to say?
You weren't being rude. Um, I don't know what I was going to say though. But are we are we in agreement that like it's possible that Ozymandias, Avizandium, I mean Avizandum was possibly broke out of his spell for a moment to speak to her?
I don't. Here's the here's the issue that I'm gonna take. I'm gonna be on both sides of the spectrum because we'll never really know unless the creators tell us outright. Um, I would believe it if she had actually moved over to where Abazandum was, but I think wasn't Abazandum's like body and everything like destroyed like earlier on? Like he shouldn't even his body shouldn't even be there, right?
I think it's possible part of his body fell off or something like that, but I don't think it was his whole body. They went up to his body in the past and saw it there in real life. And I'm not
No,
going
but
to.
I thought something happened to his statue.
I think it was possible at one point, like something broke off, like a piece broke off, but definitely not the whole statue. Because I've been holding out hope the whole time that they were going to, find a way to bring parts of it back.
They broke it. But okay, I'm not gonna like fixate on that. The thing is like, okay, to me it's like I could believe it if she had actually walked over or flew over to his statue, but it was a dream because she woke up in her cave and I haven't moved.
Oh, had she? Where do you see that time signature? That's 2:0. I'm guessing that's close to 3 minutes.
Because I remember because you see her talking to her husband, but she's outside and she's like they're doing the Lion King hug thing where the head wraps around each other. Sorry, I had to. I was thinking of Mufasa and his wife the entire time I was watching that. Um, but like, but then after he goes back into his statue and tells her that she has to like fight it because of Avazandum, she wakes up and then she's in her cave, and then she flies out the cave again.
I'm checking that right now. Hang on.
Everything.
You're right. So it is a dream. Absolutely is a dream. I mean, he might have come to her in the spirit world, but which doesn't hurt. But that is a dream. You're correct.
But is there any proof of like that being? I mean, we're in a magical world, so there doesn't have to be outright proof right now. But still,
I think it could be like a prophetic dream. You know, maybe in a dream or like.
I guess I mean I'm not really fighting this hardcore. It's like it's quite possible. I mean, these dragons are really freaking powerful, and we don't know fully what even one creature is, able to do physically in this realm. So it's like I'm missing. It's like it could be a prophetic dream. It also could have been something her brain was trying to do to get her to wake up. Like her body is trying to fight, and her body needs her to be able to fight with it. So her brain literally conjured up a dream with her husband. Because also in that dream too that she had, she was willing to just like let go and be with him, and then he told her no. Which is
Yeah.
kind of sad too. That entire situation, like that little conversation that they had, proves that Zubeya has been like really just, you know, fighting back sadness the entire time. Like helping Ezra out, you know, she didn't have to do any of that, but she did anyway, even though, you know, she's sad and she really wants to just to, you know, be with her husband again.
Yeah. But we know in this world, at least in the pretense of it, that the dreams are right on the edge of being they're definitely significant. They're definitely very plot significant when Erebos visits Janae over and over again and things like that. Like, know that to some extent she's haunting him. Like, he's haunting her. But we, given that, like, it seems to me like powerful beings in this world have a pretty good chance of being able to visit one another.
I guess I'd be less resistant to finding this, like if it was like, I honestly, like I said before, it's not impossible, not impossible at all, definitely not impossible. That's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm just kind of like, I was like, man, I really wish they would have like revealed like some, like even just like in a book somewhere that Callum read about being able to pull from the power from like spirits or whatever. Because there's been a lot of characters that could have easily come back through that, but that they decided to not do. Then again, I guess they also had that situation with Rayla and the coins and her parents and stuff like that. That was also a really weird situation.
The coin with their parents, yeah, there's that as well.
That was also a really weird situation.
So
It's kind of where I'm
dream,
having the trouble of like, I'm not gonna fight that too hard. Honestly, if we come out with the whole like, yeah, there's a way to cross over to talk with your loved ones, I'm just like, okay, whatever. We've already seen it twice.
yeah,
And
I
like,
think that it's an Erebos meeting. Viren, I think, is another example.
well, I don't think that's not a dream. That actually happened.
Well, I mean, with people speaking backwards and shit like that, and characters that had nothing to do.
Oh yeah,
know.
that dream. Actually, I guess now we're talking about Varen and his whole dream. I remember when Claudia like started walking towards the ocean, my brain picked up on like that dream he had. I was like, oh wait, Claudia in the ocean. And then like the moment I said that, Varen has the flashback in his mind, like oh dang, that's things coming to pass, unfortunately. Um, I will say, I guess like at this point, considering that I have a couple of things about this, like I honestly feel like, and this might just be me reaching, I feel like, and I've been thinking about, I was thinking about this the entire episode as we were coming up to his scenes and whatnot. Like, who's to say Erebos wasn't lying?
Wasn't lying.
I mean, let's say that he was lying. Like the whole like there's a. So I mean, based on what he said later on in the episode, it kind of concludes that he can't be lying because life or death magic does make sense. It has to have a cost. But like, I don't know. It's like,
He's probably just not telling the whole truth.
I guess we can go with that. Like, just he hasn't said everything that needs to happen. Because it's just like, to me, it's like Erebos. Like, there's no reason why Erebos would be truthful with these people. He's trying to manipulate them, to get what he wants. So Erebos seemed very confident in this episode he was gonna get out. By the end of it, he's still inside the prison.
He didn't seem particularly bothered when Viren told him to F off either.
Well, of course not. I suspect that I think he suspects Viren's gonna come back. Though it seems like it might be too late based on the way the episode ended. I would say like I'm glad that he told him no, But at the same time, him walking off while his daughter was in the water also was kind of like a double-edged sword in a really weird way.
Why was it a double-edged sword?
I don't know. It's like, to me, it just seemed like, okay, you're not gonna sacrifice your daughter or whatever, but you're still gonna leave her in the water.
He couldn't. He's barely like conscious. Like he couldn't really do anything to stop her once she disappeared in the water. He called out to her, but she didn't hear. She didn't listen. And then she just kind of zooped into the water, and she was Ursula from Little Mermaid.
Thank you. I thought about that when I saw it.
And then that was pretty much it. You know what I mean? Then she's gone. So I don't know what you think he's going to do to catch up with Ursula in the water, given that he's like barely holding on himself. You know, like that was like the first moment he was fully conscious since the last time he used to do dark magic, at like many episodes ago.
I get that, but I mean, to me, it just seemed like he really wanted to stop her from using dark magic, and then like he didn't truly, I guess, do everything he could to stop her. But I guess you're right. Like, I guess what could he have done? I mean, he probably would have told her to please don't do this for me, and then she would have said, no, I got to do this for family. That would have resulted in another like really messed up flashback for him. So
yeah, I just don't think she had a choice. I don't think he had a choice. I don't think he would have caught it. Even if, given that she didn't hear him or ignored his call when he realized what was happening, it's not like he has a black magic spell handy just drop on the situation, you know?
well, I mean, on the cusp of talk about dark magic and whatever, he first time and ever we've seen him denounced it to the point where he said, I'm never using it again. So it's not like he's gonna have much of a life to not use dark magic again, because I mean he's gonna die when the sun comes up. Don't know, something about that doesn't seem like doesn't seem right to me. I mean
that thinks he's gonna wake up alive when the sun comes up.
But no, he doesn't think he's going. He thinks he's gonna just die the moment he closes his eyes.
Right, but I have a feeling he's gonna open his eyes and be awake and realize he was lying to him.
Yeah. Also, what else could happen?
I don't see the show killing Varen yet. Do you?
I mean, they could. I mean, if the whole idea of like family members coming back and talking to you could come to fruition, who's to say Varen couldn't do that? You know, like, I mean, kill him here, but maybe later on when Claudia is at a crossroads herself.
Because it's a waste of the character's story. The character's development isn't done yet. If anything,
I mean, they could still develop him dead. I mean, just like nothing really stopping the creator. I mean, if what you believe is true, that you know, like there's a way for the spirits of people to come back. When we've seen it twice by this point, there's still a chance they can still do a Varen and also have Varen develop and finish his arc. Yeah, it'd be really weird for him to finish it dead, but
who but Claudia would bother?
Hmm?
Yeah, who but Claudia would bother to put all that effort into it, though?
I mean, what could happen is that Claudia truly joins the dark side for a few arcs. I mean, Erebus already commented on her skill and her power. But I mean, it's possible that Claudia could just completely go dark for an arc or two. Because it seems like they're really trying to push the idea that Claudia could go dark. She kind of almost did this episode anyway. And based on everything that happened, it's possible she could still go dark anyway. I mean, when she went down there as Ursula to try to get the prison, Ezra and Callum stopped her, and then Callum took the potion that allowed her to be able to be on the water. She had to go up and like get air. She came out of the water crying. Now, am I saying that I want him to die? No, not yet. Anyway, if they're gonna kill him anyway. No, I wanted to kill him, the character. I mean, and yeah, you're right. His development isn't done yet. But I don't know. They really hammered in that he's gonna die when he closes his eyes. So like, they had to do some real like they had to do some real shenanigans, and I mean shenanigans that make sense, but shenanigans nonetheless for him to wake back up. Either that or maybe Viren, I mean not Viren, maybe apparently it sounds like killing Snugglepuff is like a
Sparkle Puff, excuse me.
Hmm?
Sparkle Puff, excuse
Sorry,
me.
Sparkles, whatever. Sparkle Puff. It seems like killing Sparkle Puff is the key to keeping him alive. If Erebos tells her that that's the key, he'll still help her. As long as she still plans to help him get out. Because I mean, like Callum and Ezra got the prison, but that's about it. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I don't know what their plan was after getting the prison in the first place. And Claudia knows they have it now, so
they have to move it because Claudia has seen where it is.
Yeah, but that also makes it a moving target, and Claudia knows they have it. So
Ezra looked at it, and then Claudia saw it, and then they had to stop her. So they had to move it, which is Erebos. If Viren did die, and even if Viren didn't die, Erebos still has Claudia under, like, as someone that he can manipulate. So, and he also has Callum who he can manipulate. Who we've seen 2 episodes now where Callum uses dark magic, and you see that he's playing into Erebos' hands, like where Erebos picks him up like a chess piece pawn or something like that. So, and we know that Erebos can just take over Callum too because he's done that before. So Erebos might just see Viren refusing him as like a minor setback because he's made a ton of progress and he's been there for a long time. So what's another couple days for him?
No. What I was just saying is that, like, I don't know what they're planning to do. I mean, yeah, move it makes sense, but like that still makes them a target for Claudia because Claudia knows they have it. So I mean, regardless of, I mean, Viren dying or not dying, he could do one or two things. Just tell Claudia that I will still grant you your wish, but you still have to fulfill your end of the bargain. Or 2, he could use Claudia's resentment towards Callum because I'm pretty sure she has some now. And Ezra, based on her encounter with them in the water.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's 2 ways that it can, Erebos can still manipulate her, regardless of him being alive and dead. That's kind of why I wasn't really fighting the whole idea, will he die or not? Because he can, as you said before, he can still use Claudia.
What is Claudia going to end up doing to just get her leg back?
Hmm?
I mean, there's all sorts of countless terrible things Claudia could do just to get her leg back, too. Like, Erebos could be like, I'm going to show you how to get your leg back so you can then be strong enough to save your father. You know.
I mean, whatever it is, I know she's got some resentment towards Callum now. I mean, if she didn't have it before, she's definitely got some now. And Ezra for that matter. I guess speaking of Ezra and Claudia, it's kind of interesting that she tried to appeal to Ezra down there, saying that you always believed in me and stuff like that. You always saw, I guess, it seems kind of weird like that. Like, I don't remember Ezra and her having those kind of conversations back when she was still quote unquote sane.
Is she not sane right now?
I don't know what to consider. Like I did before, I've said this before, and I still stand by it. She confuses me.
The same person than she was before.
What?
Claudia seems like the same person that she's always been.
I say quote unquote sane because she's really gone crazy now with the whole saving her father, but that's understandable.
Yeah, she's the same person she's always been. She's gone a long way down a dark path, but I don't think she's especially like different than she was. You can see the original Claudia whenever she hangs out with Terry.
He still confuses me. Like, her 50-50 split, I guess, which is the point, but it's like, it confuses me. But, put the notes here. Thought about that. Didn't realize I was actually following your notes until Chemdale. Oh, I don't even know if that would be considered what that elf did was magic or not, dark magic or not.
What shelf?
But
What elf?
I mean, the elf that they made that deal with back over with the one that's got a debt to the Sunfire elves.
Oh,
Because they called that blood magic is what specifically they called it.
Kim Dale. They called it blood magic, but it was interesting to see Claudia using magic that involved her blood, like in the next episode, after they made such a big scene out of like the blood magic user. And we had talked about whether or not that was dark magic or not, so I thought it was interesting that right in the next scene.
I mean, it's definitely dark magic, but I know they called it blood magic specifically to differentiate, I guess, what she's doing. I mean, I think it's still like, I guess you can call it evil magic, but it's like, when we can tell, it's like it. Well, I don't know, like, because I mean, Claudia hasn't shown the ability to disappear into a mist yet. Oof. Yeah, it was interesting that she definitely did do blood. It's a second episode where blood actually made an appearance.
You don't. So you don't think the magic that Kim Dale was using was dark magic? You think that blood magic is like?
Well, the thing is, we know of what shadow or dark magic, whatever it can do. Humans, well, people who use it need to take something and then drain the magic out of it. When we can tell Kim Dale wasn't doing that. She was just using blood.
Even when she grabbed that elf and did something to him, quote unquote, and drank his blood.
I don't really know, because like before all that, she drank that blood and it was immediately empowered. She had that blood in the vial first.
Right. Do we think that was her blood? Is that what you're saying? And that she did not drink the blood of the elf to get a little extra power boost? When he came crawling out and was like, "Help save me."
I don't know what she did in there. I honestly, well, like, I guess another issue with that scene that I kind of now I'm actually realizing that I have is, like, they're not afraid to show blood. I don't know why they didn't have him bleeding in just a tiny bit. When I don't remember him bleeding at all. And he said he did something to her. I mean, she did something to him. So if it was blood that she drained, you'd think that he would be having some blood somewhere on him. He looked clean from what I remember.
Well, we don't know how she extracted the blood, for example.
There's only one way to extract blood, even in a magical sense. Just has to be a hole somewhere.
She could have just pulled it out of him like a mist. I mean, everything else she did was bloody mist. Or
but
she
even with that, there should still be like a red hue on him somewhere. Like, I mean, I don't like. There's no way.
Or we could be talking a censor thing here, where like they had to be, since they couldn't straight out say that she drank his blood. The censors also couldn't straight out show that she drank his blood.
Well, I have a problem with that, because they don't have a problem with it here. They didn't have a problem with her drinking it. You'd think that a censor would have had a problem with her drinking it at the very least.
That blood is some of her own blood.
Blood is blood. If there's a censor, it doesn't matter whose blood it was.
I mean, they were pushing the edge. They could suggest really strongly that she was drinking someone else's blood, but they couldn't show it. But drinking your own blood,
I'm not buying it, because, like, I mean, a censor's a censor.
Especially if it's barely 3 drops squeezed into like a thing. It's not like, for example, it's not cannibalism in that case.
I'm still not buying, because a censor isn't gonna care whose blood it is. It's just gonna care that there's blood. Period. That's usually how the censor works. They're not gonna care, or they're not gonna pick and choose what they're gonna show and what they're not gonna show, because people are gonna find that really weird.
I disagree. I think that there's degrees of things that are allowed and degrees of things that are not allowed sometimes.
I don't know, like, but back to like that being dark magic, it's a possibility, but at the same time, we've seen dark mages take magical creatures and sacrifice them in the process of using magic. It didn't seem like she was doing that. It didn't seem like she was sacrificing the life of somebody to use her magic.
She was using their blood, and she used the blood of that elf that came crawling out.
That elf was alive though. He survived, for what we can tell. And then that
she used the life force, though.
I don't think she uses the life force. I don't think the blood magic uses like the life force of somebody. I think it just uses the blood.
Just was hungry, thought she'd take a little snack.
He was still alive. She didn't drain him.
Hey, you want to hear what's a good prank? I'm gonna drink your blood. Oh my god, that was such a good prank. You totally had me. Bro, that was like, I'm putting that on TikTok. Yeah, really, that's gonna be so funny.
Did you just mention TikTok on my Christian server?
You know what I'm saying?
No, not really.
I'm saying that obviously there was no reason for her to drink that guy's blood unless she was using it to gain his power. She might not have killed him for it, but she definitely like used some blood.
What I'm saying is that you have to kill the thing when you're using dark magic. That's how that works.
How do you know?
It's how it's always shown. Dark magic always takes the life of whatever you're using. They have to use magical creatures, and then those things die when they're using the magic. You've always seen that. When they first showed dark magic, Claudia killed a butterfly or something like that. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, dark magic uses the life of the creature.
Yeah.
Literally, it's like that's how dark magic is done. I think they even say it. Like, they smell death on these people when they're around.
But there could be different variations on the same type of magic. For example, this what type of elf is Terry? A wood something elf? A what?
Earth blood.
An earth blood elf. So this fungus, like mushroom mage, could be an earth blood elf too. We don't know for sure. And Tidewater Tina definitely had a different type of magic style than the pirate. So it could be that you know what I mean. There's different styles of the same types of magic. In which case, then, you know what I mean. I'm like what I'm saying kind of makes sense still.
I don't know. I find that really weird that they give that type of variation to dark magic when they kept on saying that you draw on life of magical creatures to do so. Why would there be a variation on that type of magic? I mean, I guess why wouldn't there be? But how would you even do that?
How would you have a variation on what type of magic?
Well, on that magic in particular, because like I highly doubt taking half the life of somebody would cause it to change.
You're just using some of their life force, that's all. Instead of all of it. It's not that wild of a concept to think that using some of something's life force instead of all of it is like completely out of the realm. It's just a different degree to which the other people would. Claudia thinks that elven creatures are scum, and maybe an elven creature isn't quite in the mood to take it as far as that, you know? Even a very evil one is like, I found a way to steal some of them, because like she didn't. She left a lot of survivors in that Sunfire Elf place.
Well, it's definitely similar.
What did you look something up?
I wanted to look up blood magic specifically, but they weren't giving me anything, and then they drew me to the magic page. But I guess you're kind of right. Based on what I'm reading here, it kind of still does what dark magic does. It still kind of requires the life of something, but it's just using the blood of the living being. That's weird. Why is this on the wiki, but they don't go out of their way to explain it in the show? How are people getting this information? I mean, according to that page, they separate it from dark magic, calling it forbidden magic.
Oh, really?
Forbidden and dark magic kind of go hand in hand. They say it's kind of the same thing. It's the only difference is they're using the blood of the living being.
instead of its entire life.
I wasn't really saying that it wasn't truly dark magic. I was just saying that there's a classification. There should be a classification, but I guess at the same time that means that my idea that dark magic is perverted magic actually might be 100% true. I mean, correct.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which makes now believe what the heck is dark magic really? I guess Colin would discover that because he's the one. They kind of do the same thing with like I hate referring back to Last Airbender, but it's the one show that just happened in two, where Aang didn't like the feeling of fire bending, and then later on they go on to reveal what the intended nature of it was. So
There's also a lot of variants of the elements in Airbender that, like, think about the different forms that waterbending can take. You've got blood bending, you've got healing magic, you've got traditional water bending, you have plant bending, like with the marsh plants and stuff like that. Like, I mean, that if you really want to talk about similar universes and use Airbender as an example, like, you could say that they're both like the same. They're similar in the same way that water bending is similar to its logical variants. Water bending versus plant bending, or blood bending versus plant bending. Plant bending is using the water in a plant, and blood bending is using the blood in it.
no, I agree. I was just trying to I thought they were trying to make the blood spells that she was using different, or but I honestly don't know. Like, I mean, I thought that guy might have still been alive. Who the heck knows? I mean, he fell over at the end of after he said all that, but that doesn't mean he's dead or not. He's just on the ground. They didn't report any casualties, but eh. But it's on to another news subject. You already talked about Varen and Claudia. That's really weird. The red is the blood of the child. I guess I never thought about that.
Jack.
I guess we can talk about Arrows a little bit more before we go on to what happens outside of these events. It's interesting that Erebos, I guess the closer you get, because Erebos does use the words of you're closing in within my reality. I remember that was interesting wording that he chose before he drew Varen into his reality. How makes you wonder is I wonder if Varen encased, not Varen, but is Erebos encased in that pearl, or is that pearl something else that's keeping Erebos locked up?
I was thinking that, remember the storm sphere that Callum was using to cast air magic with at the beginning?
Yeah, didn't he break that though?
He broke that, but it was an entire storm contained in that little sphere. If you can put a storm in a sphere in this universe, then you can probably put a prison in that.
I mean, you're not wrong. I guess a storm would be potatoes compared to prisoning somebody.
Right. So it just made sense to me that it reminded me of that. At first, it reminded me of the dragon egg, and then then I felt like it was more accurate to think of it as like the storm sphere where there was an entire storm in there. So it looks like spheres like that, and it's bigger too. So, and it makes sense that it resembles a pearl because Tidewater Tina was instrumental in creating it. So it's probably created with some sort of water magic, like water primal magic.
It's weird to think. I'm guessing nobody would come out here, but it's weird to think that they put it in a clam in the middle of the ocean. And just
It's a good place to put it.
Huh?
It was a good place to put it. Even if you got to the bottom of the ocean, looked around, you wouldn't see it unless you knew it was there.
I get it, but people like to clam dive, so I'm just I mean, the likelihood of someone going out there to clam dive is very unlikely. Like maybe 1%, but it's
So in the middle of the sea of the cast out, not near anything at all.
If
happen to find
people
that
must know what that place, where that place is, right?
the Sea of the Cast Out.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm not really trying to like
One little
debate.
plot hole that really bothered me about that place was that they got there in that little dinghy. I'm like, how big is this place if you can just roll out there? Like, why wasn't the ship there?
Huh?
Why wasn't the ship there? Like that part really bugged me.
Oh, you mean the giant ship? Oh,
Yeah, they left the ship behind, and then they went out on that little dinghy, and they went to the center of the Sea of the Cast Out. Like, sea implies like hundreds of miles of ocean, and then they somehow know that they're in the center of it. I want to know how that happened. And nobody seems tired from rowing. I don't even see oars. They're just kind of out in a boat, and like, I just don't get it. I don't get what was supposed to be happening there. But
I think they
and
wanted
then,
a smaller vessel.
Claudia, like,
I think they wanted a smaller vessel to not attract attention. I'm guessing.
and then Claudia just kind of swims out there from shore, and like she does it within a matter of like, I don't know, an hour. You know what I mean? Like where she collects all that. She goes out like there. She's able to go out in a boat into the middle of the sea, and not which must be as big as a pond at this point, and not find it. Bring her boat to shore. Remember, this is in the middle of that sea, and she has time to bring her boat to the shore on the same day, collect like a very specific fish, like harvest it, and then turn into something, and then swim back out there, all in the same like half-day period. Like that plot hole really bothered me about this. Like I couldn't get past the
I
fact
mean, we don't know how long a day is in this universe.
oh please.
No, I'm being serious. Like we really don't know how long a day is.
By saying a day might last like 16 years or something like that. Like
I'm not gonna say that. Jeez, I mean, they wouldn't be needing to sleep. I'm just saying
well,
that like we don't really know what this planet is like.
well, we know a month is 30 days.
Is that the same inside that universe?
28 to 31 days is a month here.
I think you're just looking into that. I know it bothers you. Maybe this is one of those things that maybe we just shouldn't look into it.
Like,
because you lose like if you start thinking about things like that, like my thing with the whole clam in the middle of the ocean, you start
a
like
sea can be more than 1 million square miles in area, such as the Caribbean Sea, or as small as the Sea of Marmara, which is still 5,000 square miles in area. The smallest sea on Earth is 5,000 square miles.
I don't think this should be a detail that really bothers you that much. It's basically what I'm saying. I mean, it happened. It probably won't happen again.
I know. It made the world a little teensy for me, like that they were able to go out in that little dinghy and like do all that stuff.
You want to talk about weird things? You brought it up earlier. You want to talk about weird things? You brought it up earlier in a joke. How does that Zabea, like, she flew, like, the worst part was she didn't fly too far from her home. She flew far just enough that she would fall into specifically into a forest, apparently where this mushroom sage is living. And he just happens to know how to cure corruption.
I mean, at least with that, there's some sense of fate there, like that she was fated to be cured. Well, I don't like that either, to be honest with you, because that felt extremely convenient, but it also felt like a lack of payoff from a plot perspective.
I think there's some, like, I'm pretty sure there's some payoff. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things, because we didn't really know. First of all, we don't know what he looks like. We only got like a good glimpse of him from her perspective, which she was going to sleep or slowly dying, which one was going first. We only really hear his voice. We know he's whatever he is. He seems to be really happy-go-lucky. It's possible that he's just one of those wanderers. Yeah, I know. I already hear it. Like, so he just happened to be wandering in that exact moment where she fell. I think I already know. I already hear it. But it's like, I feel
Why
like
did
it was
Punch
earned. I feel like it was earned. In a really weird way, I felt like it was earned. She didn't tell anybody. The only person I even think was worried was Soren. And Soren apparently didn't think it was worth mentioning to anybody else.
It seemed like a whole like extra plot like device. Like it seemed like a whole build up to like a story that was going to happen, and then they just kind of bailed her out.
I don't. Here's the thing about that. I don't know if we really needed a story surrounding corruption, especially considering how like random that concept popped up. Like to me, that the whole idea of things being corrupted seemed kind of random too. Like it almost seemed like they needed a threat in the middle of nowhere where there was a library.
But now they have to do something with it because they found them in the wild, it's spread out throughout different places and stuff like that. Now they really need to have that plot torn out because if it was just them around the library, that would be one thing. But they encountered one at the library out in the wild, and they're just roaming in the wild right now, and we need.
Well, we only met one random wild thing, and it attacked Rayla and Callum on their way to.
And it didn't die, so it's still out there. And every time it does so much as wound something, that thing is going to become another one of these like horrible demon creatures. They didn't kill it.
I get you. It just the idea of corruption just seemed kind of random, and
I think it's going to create at least one more thing at some point. It's going to wound one thing at least at some point.
I mean, one thing is probably already got an army, but
right.
But I mean, I get all that. I'm just saying that, like, from a very, I didn't really voice it because it wasn't really that big of a problem. It kind of becomes a problem now, what you just said now with the whole curing the dragon now. Well, we now have a problem that, for whatever reason, there always seems to be one of these guys running around. I don't know how many of him exist. Again, he just popped out of nowhere, ready to cure a corrupting dragon, which he already knew what it was apparently. And just decided went to curing it.
The only excusable thing I can say about the Mushroom Mage is why wouldn't Zubeia have some friends living nearby? And
it didn't seem like she knew him though. That's the thing.
Zubeia intentionally try to go towards the Mushroom Mage because she knew he was nearby. Like the Queen of the Dragons should have some, especially a loving, kind queen like that, could feasibly have a friend that lived nearby that she tried to get to,
but
that was okay with like trying to save her.
But
you know?
But it didn't seem like she knew him because the interaction they had seemed like he said, "Shh, don't worry, I got this." That's not a conversation you have with somebody you know. It's not something you say to somebody you know.
That you found the Mushroom Mage?
No, not that. That like when she fell down and she looked ahead and she saw him, he goes out and says, "Shh, I got this." Like that's not like don't worry, don't like I'm a friend. But that's not something you say to somebody you know.
That's a good point. Or she could know of him. She could have been aware of him in her area.
I mean, I hope that's really what it comes down to. Is she was flying towards him because she knew of a wandering elf, but still, it's one of those like, wow, he was conveniently nearby.
Yeah, but what I mean is like it's at least somewhat excusable. But some of these other plot holes, like you know what I mean, like them traveling.
I don't know, her crossing the water's a plot hole.
2,500 miles at least to get to the center of the Sea of the Castaway.
A plot hole's kind of heard something
like,
in the plot.
In like a 2-hour period while swimming or while rowing. I mean, I don't think there's anything on Earth that can get 2,500 miles in 2 hours over water or underwater.
Not that we know of right this very minute. I mean, we're always learning something new about this planet we're living on. On top of it, none of the creatures in that world are normal creatures that live on our planet.
In a flippin' rowboat, dude. My guy.
Why is rowboat thing? I really.
Is it not a rowboat? Well, how else does it propel itself? It's not a sailboat.
No, I'm just saying that it's like
It's not. There's not a crab living underneath it, moving it.
We don't know that.
We do know that. We saw them swim underneath it, and we saw the boat above them.
So it could be one of those retractable like things that have
Retractable
the
crab.
covers like just
Flights.
the cover the planks there like move when the legs come out.
Like a dinghy. Just chilling, a magic boat that they don't mention as
Them
magic.
literally crossing the water is gonna bother you for the rest of your life, isn't it?
I'm just holding my ground at this point. You're like, oh, you don't know that it can't go 2,500 miles an hour.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't think it really matters. It's just like they needed Claudia.
Water.
They needed Claudia to get into the water as Ursula. I think that you can forgive them for making a magic boat glide over the water for a few seconds.
A magic boat glide over the pond, the saltwater pond.
I think you can forgive them for making this small little error that I don't think it's really a plot hole. I think it just might be an inconsistency. I don't think it's a plot hole.
You know what? They sailed the inconsistency. I will say that.
Okay, we're gonna move on from this. I think we already talked to this to death. We're already beating a boat to death at this point. I think we need to move on.
You bring a boat to water, but you can't make it go 2,500 miles an hour. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I could bring up this little bit thing. Claudia can speak underwater, but Callum and Ezra can't. I was actually kind of bothered by that myself.
I figured it was just the nature of them having different spells, but
That's the only thing that would make sense. But at the same time, like, it's not like the spell. The spell gave them gills, but to me, it's like, okay, it gave you gills. You think you still be able to speak because the water ain't gonna change. Like, there's no way the water's gonna change coming out of your neck or whatever. But whatever, it's like that's a tiny thing that kind of bugged me a little bit. But I guess it really had to be the nature of their spells. But even still. I also want to point out too, speaking of spells, Claudia's spell had a time limit. Or we can tell Callum's didn't.
Right, they had very different magic. I mean, even the activation time was pretty up in the air. Like Rayla was able to come back like fairly long after like the spell was cast, and the runes were still glowing when she came out of the water.
I guess Viren and Erebos' child. At first, I was like, "Wait, are they really gonna sacrifice Soren?" I'm like, and then he brought up like the little Sparkle Puff. I'm sorry, Sparkle Puff being a child. I'm like, that is kind of creepy on so many levels.
Sparkle Puff. Oh, that they had a child.
Yeah,
it was unusual too. It was like
very creepy on so many levels.
It was awkward more than anything to me. I was just like, that's not a child.
I mean, technically speaking, it is. I mean, Erebos said, look at him. He has your voice.
He didn't have his voice, and he didn't have his eyes.
I think Erebos was being funny and tongue-in-cheek, man. I don't think Erebos really meant any of that.
Erebos was so happy he was coming back. But
I mean, yeah. I mean, he didn't have any interest in him beyond what he already did with him. That was obvious. Erebos just wanted to get out of that dang prison. He was just sopping. He was just like, you know, drilling out the mouth just to get out. Whether Varen lived or died didn't really matter to him.
No, it didn't matter to him. But he was he was an asset.
Yeah, but I think he sees Claudia as more of an asset than Varen nowadays.
Yeah, I think Varen's been mostly replaced by Claudia, but he doesn't have Claudia under his finger quite as thoroughly. As he did Varen. Like, I mean, have we even seen them speak to each other? She's not in any intro, like, where he picks her up like a pawn piece like Callum was.
Well, she had to have spoken to him because how would she have learned about the time limit on Varen's spell of like, coming back out, like going back to die,
She
and then
cast
all the things she said she had to do to get to this point. Clearly, she definitely had to have spoken to him. No one else would have been able to tell her that.
she knew how to do those things possibly independently of Varen. She didn't. She hasn't had any participatory role in creating the homunculus. She probably knows of Erebos at some like very well, but we don't know that she's spoken to
I
Erebos.
think
Because
she
that
has
thing was
spoken to
gonna-
Erebos because it was how she got the like, I remember this. It was like the very first episode, I think season 4. He brought up that like, you heard a voice and it told her to do these things to bring him back to life. She didn't know it was gonna work. She even says it's during her speech of she had to do things she didn't know she was capable of. She may not have known it was Erebos, but I think she had definitely spoken to him.
Maybe, but I think Callum is Erebos' next like fallback plan.
I don't know. I mean, he took him over for a few minutes, but I don't think
He's
Callum's gonna be.
capable
I
of
don't think
taking him
Callum's that
over.
weak-willed.
He's capable. We know that he can take him over. He's capable of doing that. They've spoken on screen, and twice Erebos has picked him up as the pawn instead of Viren in the intros.
I've been looking at that, but I have not found any intro where I saw Callum being picked up. I thought I saw it once, but I can never find it again. I thought I might just like.
It happened twice. One of them was in the last episode, episode 8, Finnegan's Wake. If you look at the opening of episode 8, you'll see Erebos pick up Callum instead of Viren. The other one was a while ago, but it happened the other time he casted Dark Magic too.
Okay.
I watch all the openings.
I do too, but I just don't remember. That's interesting. Am I watching the right season? Oh, jeez.
Season 5, episode 8.
Huh.
Do you see it now?
I swear I've seen that one time before, but I could never find it, so I always dripped it up as the Mandela effect.
No, there was another time that it happens too. It's the other time when he uses dark magic to save that dragon's life. And then there's a whole plot where he falls into the dark magic sleep. In the beginning of that episode, Erebos catches him too, which is why the one time that he used dark magic is what left him vulnerable to Erebos taking him over. Because he had that partial corruption, which also played in effect because that other dragon, the blind dragon, could smell the corruption in him, and they were unable to convince the dragon that he was worth saving because he had the stench of dark magic on him.
I don't know if Erebos is after Callum per se. Maybe something he has. I mean, in that exact same intro, we see Callum looking at that box that he's been trying to figure out since season 1, I think. Maybe season 2. It may have something to do with something that Callum has that he probably shouldn't. I don't think. Oh, granted, I mean they did say Erebos has a way of corrupting mages. There's also another weird thing because humans shouldn't be able to do magic, but Callum's already broken that rule or whatever he would call it. Perception. But yeah, he has something planned. I
I
can't
mean, I
shake
don't
that
know who
Varen is probably still part of
I
it.
don't know who the backup plan is, but I know that Callan is with the group that has the prison in their hands right now, and that Erebos can take over Callan. So with those two things in mind, Callum seems like more of an asset than Claudia missing a leg, washed up on shore like Jetson right now,
She's
and
not
her
missing a
dad.
leg. I kept on hearing you say that. Is she missing a leg?
She's missing part of her leg, not the whole leg.
Are you sure? Because I could have sworn. I
Yeah,
mean, was the thing that got cut off? Was that technically supposed to be her leg?
yeah, I have the time signature in here somewhere for it. 2310. Go 2310 into the episode. You'll see the leg missing. Rayla cut off one of her tentacles, and it turned out to be the tentacle that was her leg.
I remember her cutting off tentacle, but I didn't think it had anything to do with her leg. It was magic.
And it
In my
were her
opinion, I
leg.
thought magic would, she wouldn't have lost the leg because it was magic. Okay, 1 minute. Let me.
I think two of them tentacles were her legs because you see her shift back and forth.
Seems like she was
At
crying because
point,
she was in pain.
she was crying because she
Oh
failed. And
dear God.
yeah, see, they focus right on it. Like a big chunk of her leg is gone. I would say roughly from the calf down, possibly the knee down, but probably the calf down. So she's going to have to do something to get that back, or she's not going to have it back. Either way, she's not super useful to Erebos right now compared to Callum.
Well, Varen's like, I guess Callan would be the choice because I mean, Varen's already said that he's no longer using dark magic.
Yeah, Varen has overcome Erebos' temptation and seen the ways of his error of his ways, and could potentially die tonight if the story is consistent. She has Claudia has part of one of her legs missing, and cannot kind of failed Erebos in a sense. You know what I mean? Like she failed to free Erebos, and here we have Callum, who he knows he can take control of at least under certain conditions, right next to the orb that is his prison, carrying it away. That would be the one if I was Erebos, that's the one I'd be focusing.
I don't know, I feel like he might have another plan. I don't think he's that interested in Callum. Only what I think he has that he shouldn't.
Okay, what would you do if you were Erebos right now?
I don't know. I mean, he's been in there for so long. He must have multiple ways out.
So he's been in there so long, he must not have multiple ways out. In fact,
Well, they kept all the I mean, they made sure they kept all of the things that would be useful to him away from him, such as knowledge of his prison or where he was.
he's got a homunculus that he can transport through, at least his essence. Viren might be dead. Claudia is crippled. Terry is not the one that he's going to be focusing on. Terry's never used dark magic anyway. I don't understand why you think anybody but Callum, given what we know about the story right now, would be the target.
I think a part of me is just hoping that I don't think he can be taken over. Because I will say this much at this point, he was taken over before, but Callum didn't even know. At the time. Callum did not know how powerful Erebus was or anything of his nature. Well, he's been taken over. Callum says he even remembers the feeling of Erebus being in his body. There's a chance that maybe there's no way that Erebus could take him over again, at least easily or even under the right conditions.
What new defense does he have if Erebos tries to again?
I mean, I don't know. We don't know everything that Callum's capable of right now, or what he's been trying to do. But I mean, he's had some time between them.
Particularly worried when Viren turned them down. We don't know what Erebos' reaction to Claudia failing is, but we know that he didn't look particularly worried, like he was in peril of being trapped there forever again, like a different immortal creature might be. If Viren
I mean,
lives, he's
what's
going
the
to
plus with him taking over Callum? I mean, Callum doesn't really have all the power that Claudia does.
He's right next to the prison.
I mean, that's all Callum really presents to him right now. Is just a way to break the prison.
He's a powerful mage, one of the most powerful mages.
I mean, not right now. He doesn't have access to all the magic. I don't think for arrows. I don't think Callum really is all that powerful. I mean, he probably will be yet. I mean, he's not there yet.
He has access to a knowledge of dark magic, which he studied along with all the other magic types, which seems to be the one that Erebos is the most interested in.
Has Erebos shown interest in dark magic? I don't.
He's shown all of his interest so far has been in dark magic users. So far. In fact, when he showed interest in Callum, it was because Callum had the weakness of having used dark magic. And he's also known as a corruptor, right?
I mean, yeah, but when he said that, I believe that you're talking about he can make any mage do what he wants. I don't think it specifically has to do with mages using dark magic.
What better mage does he have than Callum right now that he could access? Callum is the best non-crippled mage that we know of that's not going to die tomorrow.
Are you going to go with that logic? I'll say, anybody could die tomorrow. Just, Callum can walk out the door and get shot with an arrow. But we're not gonna go that route.
I really hope we don't go that route, because that route is absurd.
That's absurd, that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he has access to Tidebound Tina or something like that who's more powerful. You know?
I mean, we really don't know what he has access to. I mean, we've already seen he's capable of astro-projecting himself. And we don't know what the limit on that is.
Callum also has a really high ability to learn, it seems like, given that he has 3 different types of magic that he has access to right now. He doesn't like dark magic. He does have access to it if he needed to. Nobody else has access. None of the other mages we know have access to more than one type of magic. And I'm guessing that the fact that this book was water, and he learned water, that eventually there's going to be books with other titles, and he learns other types of magic. Especially given the universe writers, you know what I mean, and the Avatar stuff and everything.
I mean, I know I get all that, but right now, to me, it's like, I don't think. To me, it's like Erebos shouldn't have that kind of interest in Callum right now, even if he has been corrupted by dark magic twice by this point. But it's like, Callum isn't all that powerful compared to any other mage in this world, even Claudia for that matter. He isn't really all that powerful. Yeah, he has access to sky magic and ocean magic, but he's just learning. He hasn't really tapped into any of that magic fully, hardcore yet. Which he's showing that he's learning really fast, which is kind of surprising. But
Claudia's had a head start learning magic compared to him, but he's catching up. He held his own fairly well against Claudia, and Claudia didn't seem surprised, which was kind of unusual that he was underwater with him. If anything, she did the mustache twirling villain thing of, oh, what a surprise! You're here too. But you don't see her react to the fact and be like, Callum, you know water magic now? She seems like she has pretty good faith in his ability to learn and cast magic at a rapid rate. Remember, he's as far as I know, he's the only human that can even do this stuff.
I think the jailer might be human, but then again, there's really no proof of that either, so I don't know.
The jailer?
Yeah, the jailer, the freaking mage that Tidebound Tina spoke about, and the one who made her make that pledge. If somebody found out, she would kill herself.
Do you know whether the jailer is even alive? Because I said is, not ever was.
I don't know. There's no proof of the jailer even being human. I'm just saying that I was just going out there because I was trying to figure that out when we saw the silhouette of that person. But it's also about that jailer might just be an elf. Who really knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I would. Part of me is like, I'm hoping that maybe that's not where he's going with Callum. But at
Jailer
that
could
point,
be,
I don't know where they would take Callum's character with him getting, like, at that point, because Eros is so dang powerful and he's able to take over people. There's no reason why Eros would leave Callum's body. Not even after like breaking the prison. So at that point, he could just keep Callum under his grip. Like I don't know what. Even all that is like, I don't know if Callum could break a hold on him that strong. Because last time he didn't. Eros just left. Callum couldn't break free, so I don't know. Like, I mean, they would have that happen to him. I was like, okay, but now that's happened. Eros would definitely not let him go. Potential and everything. Now, I mean, he's the main character, so obviously they're gonna have something happen where he gets broken free. But it's like, I don't know if that would be satisfying or not.
yeah. Erebos could have just left because he was biding his time too, or
No, that's what I say. I know he left because he was done with him. But what I'm saying is like the second time he does it, there's no reason why he would leave. Like, because what's the benefit of him leaving a mage that, as you say, is as gifted right now, potentially gifted, I should say, potentially gifted as Callum? He wouldn't leave him. There's no
right.
reason to do it. And what I'm saying is, like, story wise, I don't know how they would like have Callum break free because he wasn't able to do that at first. And there's nothing right now stating that Callum is capable of breaking a hold that strong.
I mean, eventually he could do the thing. They could have been setting up when he got his blood frozen and he like learned a new type of magic and kind of like suddenly he was aware of how to use water magic and kind of miracled his way out of the problem. Like that could be a little foreshadowing to how he breaks free of Erebos' skill, that he learns the nature of the magic and is able to, once he understands it, like counter it. Um,
But Callum was awake during that whole blood thing. I don't think he would be awake during a takeover of his mind.
but there's a lot of dream state situations where their mind gets taken over, but they're communicating with them in like sort of a psych, like a psychic or a dream kind of world. So if that was the case and he was meeting with them there, he might be able to break the spell and be like, I'm going to break free of this. Um, and now you have no power over me. But I don't think they're going to do something like that for like 3 more seasons if they do. But I think that the situation here where like he broke free of the blood bending, like the ice, I want to say blood bending, but the freezing of his blood, that could be a setup that they later pay off by like him breaking free of Erebos using a similar type of thinking.
But I guess my question I posed to you, would you be okay with Callum being possessed for like 2 seasons? Or a season? Would that be okay with you?
I could see Erebos seeing him as like a project to work on, where he like tempts him and weakens his like resistance to him and works on him for a long time, and at the same time bring him over to the dark side like he probably did originally with Viren. And then, little at a time, like he's been doing, which is why both times he used dark magic, you saw Erebos pick him up and like look at him and smile as a stone pawn of his. So I could see like what's happening coming up is Erebos can sense his presence nearby. He's already said that to Viren, that he senses Claudia approaching and also them, and that Claudia is much more powerful. But he knows that Callum is out there. He knows that he's near. So I could see him using his presence as much as he could to like influence, and using that little opening of the fact that Callum has used dark magic twice now as his like inroad to Callum to start working on him and tempting him and breaking him down, and seeing if he can get him to walk down the dark path that he's already gotten Viren and by extension Claudia to walk down. Because Viren has admitted that Claudia walking down the dark path is his fault, and also we know that he walked down the dark path himself. And now we're seeing like kind of the justifiable side of it at the beginning of the trip, where like everything seems like it's worth it and noble. Saving Rayla's life, saving the dragon's life. But at the end, he does have regret. Not regret so much as mourning that he did have to resort to that foul deed to make it happen. And then there's that like repeated thing of I will do anything, no matter how foul, in order to save the lives of the ones I love, which both Viren and Claudia have said. So you're seeing like potentially like parallel there with that and Callum, where Callum isn't necessarily that far down the path, but he's taken 2 steps down that path already, and how many more is he going to take? You know what I mean? And that's the drama built up around his character arc right now, that he's learning and he's growing, but not all of the growth that he's done is something that he thinks is the right thing to do.
Okay, we kind of strayed away from Erebos possessing him.
Well, no, what I'm saying is the more that Erebos seduces him, we saw the pirate like seduce him into using it. It wasn't very hard. It took him like a day to use dark magic. Erebos being much more cunning and much more powerful and much more ancient, you know what I mean, and being able to enter dreams and already override Callum, at least in some circumstances, could work on him as a seductive force to break him down, to convince him to use dark magic more often, and eventually make it more justifiable from a plot point to that he's able to weaken him to the point where he brings him over to him enough where he can take him over, just like he did to Aaron.
I was thinking about possession in a different way, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it happens. I mean, I'm not gonna like every choice that he make with the show. I mean, that's kind of the point of the ride. I mean, can I see that happening? Yes. I mean, I'm sitting there saying I can't see that, but I just like, I would hope not. Then again, I don't know what they're gonna do with this show.
Actually, if Viren dies, Callum is one of his biggest assets right now. So I could see it. It was interesting to see Ezrin like growing more powerful too with quote unquote magic, wasn't it? He was able to summon fish to swarm over Claudia and distract them. And when they come up to the
you say he has magic, I'm not 100% buying it.
He has some sort of ability. He can just naturally communicate with animals. And
even with the Aquaman sports that we just saw.
Yeah, he pulled an Aquaman and like summoned fish to like Claudia. And Claudia even killed some of those fish. Like some of those fish died fighting for Ezrin. And when they go down to the clam just opens right up. And you could say that I'm overthinking it, but like also you could say that Ezrin talked to the clam and asked it to open for them.
Hey, you're overthinking it.
It's very possible. I mean, if they're otherwise forced to force the clam open or pry it open somehow to get to they had to get to the prison, the orb. So it'd be really, really hard to force a clam that big open without hurting it. And Ezrin would want to take the non-violent approach. And if he was like, hey, could you open for me? And the clam just opened, that makes as much sense as sending fish to die for him.
No, I get you. After they get the pearl, that's apparently Erebos' prison, they actually end up swimming up to the boat or the dinghy that Jock has apparently had issues with.
It travels 25,000 miles an hour
to celebrate their victory. And then we can now talk about the last bit that's like small but like still important. After the events with Kim Dial, Amaya comes back with her. Well, they come back with their Amaya comes back with her bride, and then I think it's
they have flowers in their hands, which is so nice.
Yeah, they take flowers. Like they're celebrating that they managed to survive this. Then they get told, the Janai gets told that they had a betrayal, and I'm like, that's interesting. And we cut away to.
You called that too.
That's what I was saying there. So I was like, wow.
You called that 100%.
Because I was bothered by it. I was like, that is so weird. Now I'm listening. I didn't want her to do that. That's for sure. But I was kind of bothered by. It seems kind of weird that she would betray her husband like that, regardless of like. It was bothering me. I didn't expect me being bothered by it to be the tell that she was going to betray the queen. I was
You know
like,
what was kind of interesting? I thought though. Remember that ring that he didn't want to take off, and they forced him to take it off, and he's like, "It's made of tin. It's not valuable." And they're like, "Nonetheless, you have to take it off." And they gave it to him. They dropped it in the ground, walked
oh, his
away.
wedding ring.
He was playing with the finger where the ring was
Oh yeah.
when she walked in, like he was thinking about her. And I think that he was like touching where the ring was missing and thinking about how she betrayed him, that she, you know what I mean, that she hid the sunseed from him. And that hurt him. And then she showed up and brought the sunseed in the army. And he's like, "You didn't abandon me." And I think that was what he was thinking with the ring, that like he'd lost
Yeah,
the
I always
nutshell.
thought about that ring was a weird little bit they added in there, but I guess that would make sense. That would be his wedding ring, the vow he took to marry that woman, and he felt
Yeah.
betrayed. It make a lot of sense
You
to his
see, we were
character.
like, I was wondering if it had some magical powers or something like that. And I should have known because the writers of this are so place sentimental things just as high as super powerful things. I should have, like, Ezra's crown, for example. I
Yeah,
should have known that it had potentially had sentimental value and not just a magical
I mean, that's
item
the
or
only
something.
one I didn't even think. I didn't even think about that, and I'm the one that called his wife not betraying him, and I'm like, that is weird though. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm happy, but also not happy that she did what she did. But I think back in that scene where they showed her saying like, "You can trust me," she had that face that her husband had whenever he was around his sister. You know, whether he was thinking of something else when he was saying something else.
Hmm.
So it seemed almost like it was just there. He was like, yeah, of course she was gonna betray. Now, what I didn't call was her bringing an army. That was shocking to me. um, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, he is still the crown prince, regardless of like whatever, like
And we
verbal.
almost successfully had an insurrection on her. If she lost the fight, his insurrection would have been successful. So it makes sense that he had a lot of loyalists.
I mean, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, so it's not too shocking. He had a couple, he had a group of people that the amount of people that showed up was amazing. So that's also really shocking. I'm
Hmm.
guessing he's gonna win the fight against his sister because I mean this is like a good moment for him, and then we switch back over to his sister, and she's having a nightmare with Erebos telling her what he did to her great grandmother, I think was what it was,
Swallowed her. Yeah,
and
swallowed her.
pretty much swallowed her, and I'm like, excuse me,
That's what she said. Yeah, it was pretty
dang it,
rough. Sorry.
not sorry at all, but
No, not well.
but I wonder what he meant by that.
I don't know because then he like sets her on fire. Like she goes up like she's made out of paper mache or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he just like I like the sound effect that they played when he did that too with her chin, like like a fire match, like a match. It's like lighting her on fire. I was like, jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of things happening with the Sunfire elves. I'm actually surprised with all the elves that we've seen. They're the ones that were having the insurrection happen with. It's really interesting that this is the civilization that we're having this situation play out with. But I wonder, like, seeing like his wife brought over the seed because she knew he needed that. I'm guessing he's gonna go and give the dragon his eyesight back. What's the purpose of the dragon?
Well, if
I
he's
mean, he seems
got a
like it's an
dragon,
outlier
he
now.
gets
He
a
doesn't really need him.
legendary dragon at the forefront of an army, and he attacks to take back his country. That seems like a pretty effective strategy, doesn't it?
I mean, I guess maybe more overkill than anything else, but yeah, it makes sense. I guess he also could that dragon could also be another plot point in trying to get his throne back because Alexander took it from him, and Alexander's dead now. Well, quote unquote dead. He's like in hibernation right now, but he's he's for all intents and purposes dead. Zubea is down, and she'll probably be down for I would say a couple episodes.
Hmm.
I don't suspect that like the corruption will get healed in one episode. I swear if it does. But it would make sense like if they could just focus on a whole another dragon.
I
I
don't
mean,
understand what this. Even if the Sunseed restores his sight, like I don't. Is it going to completely restore him, like his tattered wings and everything
I
else? And if it
think,
does,
well,
is the dragon going to give a crap? Given that it said it
I
gave
mean,
help.
Zabea had tattered wings too. They're not as tattered as his was, but I mean, they were still kind of like there was still kind of holes in there. Now I don't know if that was because of the corruption or that was just natural age, but I mean, we've seen dragons in this world still are dangerous regardless, and like that guy, he didn't lose a step. He was able to breathe whatever his element was, but he just stopped because he didn't care. A lot of the problem with that dragon is he doesn't have any, worth to live anymore. Literally, he's just like, woe is me. I'm just gonna live. I'm just gonna sit in this cave and you know, like live the rest of my days till I actually die. So whatever purpose he has for him, the dragon might be its own plot point. Maybe, maybe like we're gonna see a dragon war. There's still quite a bit of them. This is the first dragon we've seen that has any resentment towards any other dragons. Well, besides the one dragon that fought Zem's father, but that wasn't resentment. That was just more of them guy fighting. It'd be really weird to have another dragon war, but I mean, the show is called Dragon Prince. Maybe the Sun Dragon isn't really anything that important to what he's trying to do, but yeah. Random thoughts. Probably makes absolutely no sense, but random thoughts. Hello?
Hello?
Still there?
No. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So yeah, I don't know what to do about the dragon. He's a symbol, I guess, in the same way that the sunseed is a symbol. And if he's stealing a symbol of from her, a symbol of peace, and using it to awaken a symbol of war, and the sunseed goes away after it's used, then you could see symbolically from a plot standpoint what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like from a plot standpoint, he's stealing peace and using it to stir up war with a very bitter old angry dragon that seems like he's got a lot of stuff to get out of his system. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. I don't know if the Kareem's gonna really be in full control of this dragon anyway, because it was the previous king. So I mean, if anything, if he gets his sight back, I'm pretty sure he'll get his like confidence back. I'm almost certain. I mean, it's kind of like that. Like I like to bring up, like in the Fairly Odd Parents, there's this one scene with King Arthur, apparently a weak nerd that can't see because he needs glasses. Suddenly gets a sword and he's like, "I can see, I can fight," and he just rips off his shirt and he's all of a sudden muscular. So I mean, it's just maybe it's one of those things. Like he gets his eyesight back. He suddenly can do something. I mean, it's the dragon isn't weak. He's just like lost confidence. It's the only thing holding him back. He doesn't have a reason to do anything. But, I mean, maybe him finding out that Avazandum is no longer running around being the king might give him the after he gets his sight back, might give him the urge to do something. Because at this point, we didn't even know he existed.
Yeah, Avazandian being down and the Dragon Queen being weakened does create a pretty big power vacuum among the dragons. Some of them seem interested in doing something about that, sort of. Actually, none of them seem like none of the dragons we've
Yeah, I was say, like, which dragon are you talking about that had an interest in this?
None of the dragons seem particularly interested in taking over the spot, even when they know Avazandium is gone. Nobody seems like they're very interested in overthrowing Zubeo or anything like that.
I mean, right now, the only dragon who has any interest, but right now isn't doing anything about it, is the Sun Dragon. And again, we didn't know he existed until just recently.
He seems like a broken wreck, and he sends them out, and he's like, I don't want any minions, I don't need your help. I'm just here to be miserable and sit in my little cave for the rest of eternity.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have his sight. I mean, honestly, like you lost your sight.
He said, I lost my hope long before I lost my sight.
I think he's just being dramatic.
It's also the second blind dragon we've come across.
Wait, really?
Yeah, remember the other one that the blind dragon they came across in the wasteland between the human world and the elven world where that big war had happened?
I'm sorry, no. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, that sounds correct, but...
When they were traveling, they were trying to like sneak past it because it was blind and it was angry, and it almost acts like the same.
Oh yeah, the first instance of smelling dark magic on somebody.
Yeah.
I forgot about him. I knew he existed, but I completely forgot he was blind.
Yeah. So it's like, and it was almost the same dragon as this one, bitter, old.
Well, I mean,
like,
but still, my point still stands about that sun dragon.
Angry, blind.
My point kind of still stands with that sun dragon. His hope might have just been lost because he lost his throne. Well, and if he finds out that the throne is empty, and Zubeia ain't around right now, I suspect that like
back. Yeah,
he'll probably want it back. And I mean that will if that really was the reason why he lost his hope. I don't understand why he lost his sight after losing his hope. Like something must have happened. He must have saw something. Well, that makes sense, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he's right now the only dragon that we know of that is really powerful, probably could stand up to the sky dragons in the first place. No other dragon seems like, I mean, other than that one dragon that was fighting Avazandum when they were younger, but he has nothing. He really just wants to be left alone and sleep in that cave of his. And that other sea dragon, she's more interested in keeping the sea free of pirates, so. Are there any really strong dragons out there, actually? I can't think of any, actually.
Any really what?
Strong dragons on the level of those guardians.
All of them?
I mean, the small ones that kind of seem like dinosaurs, they don't seem like they're really all that strong. They're more like just drones.
No, the little ones seem like they're just younglings, but like Rex Igneous is pretty strong.
No, I'm saying like he doesn't want to be bothered. He just rather be sleeping in his cave.
Oh.
The Dragon of the Sea, she's more interested in keeping the sea free of pirates.
And she seems more interested. She seems like she's a friend of Zubeia too. Like she would be an ally at the very least of Zubeia.
That's true.
So.
I'm trying to think of the dragons saw the sun dragon.
Zubeia seemed like she has the respect of Rex Igneous. So Regim, we don't know if has any like feelings about Zubeia, or whether he even knows that the Dragon King was turned to stone.
Who is Soul Regim?
Soul Regim, the Sunfire God.
Oh, okay, the sun dragon. We're talking about the guy who's blind. Oh.
Yeah, Soul Regim. Like, as far as we know, he doesn't even know if the king is dead.
No, I don't think he knows. I feel like if he knew he was dead, he'd be like, you know, trying to get the bit sight or no sight to get the throne back.
Mm-hmm. And then Luna Tenebris is the Archdragon of the Moon, and that one seems to be pretty elusive, not really involved in anything.
Is it Dragon of the Moon?
Archdragon of the Moon, Luna Tenebris.
Hold up, I'm just looking this up. Luna. Huh. Really pretty dragon, but I do not remember her.
It looks like Luna, according to the wiki, Luna Tenebris was the first queen of the dragons, followed by Zubeia. So maybe she's just not around right now. Had the longest reign.
She was the first queen. Does that mean she was married to him? I mean, the sun and the moon, that would make sense, but...
Or it just could mean that she was the older dynasty. That she died and handed it over to the King of the Dragons, and the King of the Dragons handed it over to Zubeia.
Wait a minute.
I don't want to read...
Well, I don't know if this is even any spoilers. I mean, I won't say it out loud, but Some of this makes sense if she still is around, whatever the heck she's doing.
Luna Tenebris is the one that
Did he just mention her? Is that why I don't remember seeing her?
Kim Dale was banished and allowed to live while the other blood elves that were in her clan were destroyed by Luna. When Luna took over, she was having none of that, and she wiped them out, and that's how she's mentioned.
So,
the wiki says she died under mysterious circumstances. So Luna Tenebris died, but she was the one that banished Kim Dale, the blood assassin.
Here's the thing. Okay, they say that she's a Queen Dragon. She was Soul Regim's successor and Avazandum's predecessor. Yeah, that's him. Okay, so they weren't a couple. He just took over after she disappeared. Huh. That's suspicious right there. I won't look further than that, but that's kind of suspicious. Very suspicious, actually. That's actually not even... That's kind of convenient that she just suddenly disappeared under mysterious circumstances and he just took over.
Yeah. But now we know the lineage for 3 dragon leaders.
It'd be really funny, and I'm just gonna say this right now before we end this podcast. It'd be really funny if, like, Regum took over and all of a sudden she just showed up out of nowhere.
Luna being like, "Hey, bitch."
Like, just show up from the moon, just for no reason. Just like, I thought you were dead. I bet you thought I was dead.
You know, I have to say, this one paragraph in the wiki, I don't know where they're getting this source material from. She was Sol Regim's successor. So she was the successor after Sol Regim, which means Sol Regim was the king of the dragons before her, and probably lost it because he was no longer able to hold together.
I misread that. Yeah, Sol Regim's successor.
And Avazandium was the next one to come. And her era dated back 1,000 years before the birth of Asmodeus.
No, she predated. She predated Avazandum.
She predated Anazamum, and 1,000 years before the birth. Her era was 1,000 years before Asmodeus. Which the reason I mention that is because that means that Kim Dale was at least 1,000 years old. Because
wait a minute. I guess in this paragraph, apparently they said that she's the reason why humans were banished to the West.
Following their extensive use of dark magic.
Again, I don't know where to get the information from. Maybe this is stuff being asked by the directors themselves. I hope the directors remember. A lot of times that happens when people ask the creators something specific indirectly. They'll say something and then completely forget that he said this. Meanwhile, the fans will remember exactly every single word they said.
They're quoting the 31st episode of The Dragon Prince.
Oh.
And it says that she died under mysterious circumstances, so it might just be that we
don't remember.
You don't remember. That's pretty cool, though.
You know what this could be? Now she's supposed to be like the moon dragon. It's possible that she was brought up. She was, huh?
One of the sources is also San Diego Comic-Con, so they must have talked to the people during the Comic-Con as well. Sorry, and there's also novelizations, so they're using Q&As and Comic-Cons and tips from the episodes, and then also the novelization of these books. I'm sure there's more details.
Wait a minute. Down here in the trivia, they're saying there's another moon dragon that could have succeeded her, but this dragon was deemed unsuitable, but for unknown reasons.
It's interesting. There's so much lore.
But what I was gonna say was that, like, it's possible. I could be wrong, but it's possible this information was slipped to us in the episode where they were talking with Zobea, and like I feel like this might have been something that like dang it, Rayla would have dropped. I feel like she did. Like maybe during the full moon. I think I remember her talking about something about being really their magic is like really strong during a full moon, and I think they talk about like apparently the dragon that was supposed to be like the icon of the moon.
Yeah,
It's possible that Rayla dropped this information and we just don't remember.
possibly.
Book 1, Moon novel. Book 4, Chapter 4, Through the Looking Glass. Huh. The thing is, too, like, they bring her up, she's important, they're bringing her for some reason, meaning we might see this dragon that was, like, deemed unworthy. Huh. But she's the one that banished people for using dark magic. Huh. Starting to really think that dark magic is something perverted from something else. I keep on saying this, but I know I'm being a devil horse, but it's like I'm really starting to, because I keep thinking back to, like, as we end this podcast here, I keep thinking back to when firebending was said to, the bending we saw at the very beginning of the series was not the bending that the Sun Tribe did. You know, it was different. It came from a different source. And then, like, Aang and Zuko had to go and learn the original source of firebending from the original people. It is possible that maybe the dark magic got turned into something else. And maybe it could be moon magic for all we know. I don't know that. Don't shoot me for that. Maybe it's moon magic. Possible.
I'll try not to shoot you for that.
If I don't come back, folks, and he's here the next podcast episode, you know what happened. Call the police.
I'm not even a mod of the chat room. I wouldn't be able to get in.
You still find a way to start this podcast and get access to my Twitch channel. I know you have the
And
power.
we're back, guys.
Wow.
I'll just introduce myself as you and talk like with a slightly deeper voice or something. And I'll just disagree with whatever I say, no matter what it is.
Okay, the episode.
I think you guys an elf, and you'd be like, I don't know about that. They never say it out loud. I'd be like, what are you talking about? She's the queen of the elves. Why am I being called out on my own podcast? It's not happening. I will end this.
I'd
be like, what are you talking about? She's the queen of the elves. And you'd be like, I don't know. Maya's the queen of the elves too, and she's a human. And be like, Maya's not really the queen of the elves, like in the same way that the king is the king of the elves. And you'd be like, oh yeah.
Why are you putting words into my mouth here? Stop it.
I'm saying that I would probably be able to solo this and nobody would know the difference. I could just disagree with myself absurdly with everything I say.
Again, if I'm gone, call the police.
You don't know how long a day is in this world. It could be 50 hours long for all you know.
I never said that. I would just say we don't know the exact length of a day in this world.
This could be a totally different solar system. And
okay, the episode essentially ends. We already brought this up before. The episode essentially ends with Varen closing his eyes and crying, pretty much kissing his life goodbye. And the episode ends. And I get very upset.
How do you know she can't breathe underwater? She has a different number of fingers. Her biology is obviously different.
And Bruce ends with Varen going to sleep for, I guess, what he thinks is the last time.
Yeah, why does he go to sleep? I mean, how could you go to sleep knowing that you're going to wake up dead?
What else do you think he's going to do? I mean,
I don't know.
He can't do anything with the little time he has left. That he thinks he has left.
But how do you chill out enough?
He's not chilling out. He's afraid. The guy was crying. Those are the tears of a fearful man.
Yeah, but he's just there. He's like, yeah, I think I'll just go to sleep now.
That was in the field position, man.
Take a fucking walk, dude.
Why? Just for her to drop dead?
I don't know. It'd be good for your health until you died, at least, right?
What? He didn't just say that. He didn't just say that.
You don't know what you're gonna take with you to the next life. Like, go out and take one last look at everything.
And that's the end of the season. We don't know when next season's coming. Apparently, you have a prediction at mid 2024.
There's an article that said it, but it didn't have any sources. It said early to mid 2024. I just hope it's not 3 years.
I don't think it'll be 3 years. Obviously, it was 3 years last time because of COVID.
I'd be so mad if it's 3 years.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, for crying out loud. I mean, that'd be ridiculous. I mean, as long as we don't have another, like, worldwide pandemic. Not going on wood right now.
How would you even say that and invite that?
I'm trying to invite it. I'm just saying, as long as we don't have it, knocking on wood, just making sure.
Is that really wood? It sounded like you were tapping your microphone.
I mean, it's a desk.
I'm gonna need to.
It's the closest thing I have to wood in here.
You're gonna have to go find some wood because this is a problem. Like, your house must have studs or something.
I was knocking on a computer desk. You know what, sir? We're in the podcast now. I don't have to take this. See you guys next podcast.